when you get into shape, you aren't just doing it for you. You're doing it for the people who are willing to have sex with you too.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The really
fun,
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 it's the really fun wow show.
fun, the really fun wow show. Oh, how fun.
Hello and welcome to the Really Fun Wow Show. My name's Daren Thomas McGee. You came back. Thank you. Thank you. This is the Really Fun Wow Show. I am smiling so big right now because I'm happy. I feel really good. I feel really, I think the term is in my body, which is something that I've heard for many years, but never understood the concept personally. And I'm in my damn body, and it feels really, really good. And I've been taking care of myself better than I ever have before. As you know from a couple episodes ago, I'm several years sober now from alcohol. Still puff the weed every now and then and do psychedelics. But again, as I made the point, I think sober should refer to alcohol because that shit is poison. And I exercise almost daily, and I meditate. And here's a list of all the ways that I am better than you. No, I get so funny because I start to like list the ways that I've improved my life, and then I start to hear somebody being like, "Oh, fucking cares? Great, good for you, dude." And you know, I've talked about this before, but that voice that kind of lives back here is the voice that often makes me kind of like self-deprecate and do and talk down about myself as to not come across so ostentatious. No, that's not right. I know that's not right. It's just so like, you know, braggadocious or, you know, full of myself or whatever, all these things that I'm afraid of coming across as, even though at the core of it, yeah, I'm fucking proud of myself for doing the things that I'm doing that are keeping me well, that are keeping me in tune and a functioning member of society and a present and caring and loving parent. Like, yeah, goddamn right, I'm proud. Get off my back. Fuck. So that's where I'm at right now. And it's not always been this way, which is why it's so spectacular. And maybe if enough years go by that I continue to take care of myself, I won't talk about it so openly and annoyingly to everybody. But for now, it's new and novel, and this new and novel vessel that I have, my body, it's in a shape that I've never had it before, and that's due to my own efforts, and also a little bit of plastic surgery. Did you know that? I don't think so. I've talked about it maybe like a little bit of elusively, but this is no, this is not true. I have another podcast that you can go and listen to if you like. It's called Mystical Cynical, and I did it with this guy I used to live next to, and it's something. I like being really candid. I like being really open and honest. And when I had this plastic surgery, you know, the next time we did an episode, I talked about it. And so now I'm talking about it here. So if you've heard this story already, rerun. But for those who haven't, I had a condition, which is so funny to even call it that because it makes it sound kind of way worse than I think it is. But it is called gynecomastia, and it is the kind of an excess of fatty tissue in the buildup of the breast area for the man, the pectoral area, and it's something that I've had. I think I got. You know, there's various ways of I was going to say contracting it, but it's not a fucking disease, but of getting it. And I believe that I got it through puberty, which is one of the times that you may develop it. And it wasn't, you know, in terms of the varying severity of it, I had a lighter case, but it doesn't matter if you're it's not as if, you have that mentality when you've been insecure with your body for most of your life to be like, oh, well, it's not as bad as so-and-so or that. So it's just, it doesn't really matter. It's like whatever you're experiencing personally is the most severe. If it's your experience and you're not happy with it, it is severe, in spite of comparing it to any other cases. So mine, there was like a kind of a bulbousness to my breast area. And unfortunately, there isn't anything you can do other than surgery really to remedy it. In the past few years, like I said, I've been making a real stride, real effort to get in shape. And no matter what I did, it was still there. And a couple of people that I've talked to about this, people that I know would say, oh, I never really noticed anything. And again, that's like, great. I'm glad you didn't notice it. And who cares if you did, I guess. But, excuse me, very unprofessional. It didn't matter if you noticed it or not. I did, and I have to live with it every day. And so, getting into shape and being like, damn, it still bothers me. And it's like, I never felt comfortable wearing just a singular t-shirt. There would be like, angles that the t-shirt would kind of drape and hang over my nipples. And it's just like, it's little. And I don't say that in a way of demeaning it or taking away it's little, it's ginormous in its, littleness. So fucking stupid. It was impactful, and it was something that not a day would go by that I wouldn't be on my mind. And there were various stages of like, getting thinner and it not being as predominant, or being in a better headspace and not considering it, not even thinking about it. And so there's combinations of wellness within that where the severity, kind of shifted a bit, but it was always there. It was my body. Anytime I took my shirt off or, saw myself in the mirror, I was conscious of it. And I fucking hated it, man. I really, really hated it so much. And it wasn't until just kind of randomly as things happened that I even got the knowledge around the fact that it's a condition. It's like, once you kind of give it a name and you can see, oh fuck, there's like there's this, I'm not the only one. And the kind of like just the feeling of belonging in it, that there's resources, that there's help, that there's options and all that stuff. And so that came out, and that was immensely helpful. I'm like, oh, it's fucking got a name. It's, it's like kind of known colloquially. Nice. I never get that word on the first try. Colloquially, known as bitch tits. So, once you hear that, it does like make it like that much bearable. But knowing that it's got a medical term, I was like, okay, gynecomastia, great. Okay. And now I'm like looking up forums and message boards and just all sorts of like people, who have had it, who have had the surgery, and then being like, I'm going to fucking making the decision. I'm like, I'm going to get this fucking surgery, man. I'm going to get this surgery and it's going to change my fucking life. And I felt so, just so motivated by it. And it was so incredible to be in a position where I could afford it, and that I just went for it. And that one of those things that, you can let plague you your whole entire life. And then not to say like, I was just about to say like, and then you just get surgery and then you're fine. Like, I understand that that's not an available option for people, but getting to a place where where it became that for me, that, the significance of that wasn't lost on me, of like, God damn, dude, like you have done really well for yourself in so many regards. It's time to bring yourself to a place where you feel wholly good about yourself. And that's what I did. And I went and got the surgery, and it was fairly routine. I hadn't been under anesthesia since I was a kid. So I didn't really have any adult memories of that. And that shit is a fucking trip, man, to be awake and then to not be awake and then to be awake again. And something pretty major happened while you weren't awake, and no time has seemed to have elapsed. That's a trip for sure. And yeah, it was amazing. I mean, after you're done, they put you have to wear a compression vest, and you have to have these drainage tubes, which are, they're kind of gnarly, but they're just stitched in to the liposuction holes, and then they drain out, the kind of yucky stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's wild. The surgeon did a really great job, and he has to like basically slice around the circumference of my nipples and flap them open and pull out this, kind of bulbous, this fatty deposit that's in there, the gland. And then they get in with the liposuction stick and kind of clean out the area and all that. And so, it's not, it's pretty exhausting on the body and pretty rough. And so after that's done, they put a compression vest on you that you have to wear for, I have to wear that for like a month, maybe even longer. And that they don't even like, there's not really a ton of evidence to support that really does anything other than just kind of make you feel like it gives you that kind of confidence that it's not just going to like, all the fat's going to come back all of a sudden overnight, like it's like, so it's just that it gives you that kind of like safety and security around it. And so you wear that, but I remember, you take it off once a day to shower and to, make sure that your wounds are kept clean. But man, the moment I took it off, I was like kind of worried and scared that it was going to, whatever, something had gone wrong, or it doesn't look right, or it looks weird or whatever, or it's not as good as I thought it was going to look. But I can still remember just unbuttoning my bra basically and opening that up and seeing my chest in a way that I'd never seen it for my entire life. It was extraordinary. And I am so grateful again to be able to have done that. And before I got the surgery, I got a pigeon tattooed on my chest, like a very, very large wing spread, doofy, silly pigeon tattooed across my chest. And that was like a pre-surgery decision to say like, all right, so this area of your body, you're very insecure about, and it changes the way your posture is, and the way you carry yourself, and all these ways that are just like insanely pervasive. Just this one area, and a very important area. It's like the center of your body. It's where some chakra exists. The chest chakra exists, and so like how can we bring some power to this? And, of course, me saying that, your first thought is, oh, well, get a tattoo of a pigeon, right? That's what you mean? I don't know. I mean, my way of being subversive and counterculture, people get eagles and crows and these badass birds. And I love pigeons. I have for many, many years. And so I'm like, yeah, fucking pigeon. Let's give the pigeon some love. And it was like, it's not a regrettable decision, but it's also just like, I see why people get eagles and crows, because they're pretty badass. This fucking doofy ass pigeon. I mean, I love him. He's great. But yeah, it's kind of funny. And I said in the last episode, they shouldn't let 18-year-olds get tattoos. They probably shouldn't let 38-year-olds either. So I get the pigeon tattoo. And that's like, again, being like, in some kind of backwards way of like, let me bring attention to this area that I'm very insecure about. And maybe it'll compel me to kind of take some ownership of it, to be a bit more prideful or whatever the thought around it was. I ended up with a big giant pigeon tattooed on my chest. And it's still there. It's right there on my chest. And so when I went in to get the surgery, I already had the pigeon tattooed on my chest. And then after surgery, I got like a shitload of tattoos on my chest. My chest is like, chest and stomach are like pretty well covered right now. I mean, there's still areas that I plan to cover, but then that was like, it was funny because I thought, man, like you got to the point where you're feeling secure about the way your like front half of your body looks, and now you're covering it in tattoos. And it's funny, like I'm having this conversation like that this would be like my parents saying this to me or something, but like, oh, that's funny. You got the surgery, but then you still got the tattoos, huh? Oh, interesting. In this very judgmental way. And I guess, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what compels me most of the time. I get very wild hairs up my ass and I do things. And so that was like, oh, I'll get this tattoo. Well, now that looks weird because now that tattoo is like on its own on the right side of my body. Well, I got to get one to balance it out. Oh, okay. Well, now there's space in the middle. And it's like, it's also in this kind of like design artistic way of like, well, shit, this is a canvas now, and it can't just be like an incomplete canvas. And so, I've filled it in, and I kept filling it in, and I will continue to do so. And they do say that tattoos are addictive, and I can completely vouch for that. It's like you start to see your body in a way that is a canvas, and you're like, I want to cover up that spot. Oh, that spot looks weird now because there's nothing there. And so, you do that as one does that. And so now, go back just a couple of years, I had one tattoo on my chest, which was my grandmother's name, Viola. And it was done when I was 18. I went to Europe after high school and went backpacking by myself and was in Edinburgh, Scotland. And my grandmother at the time, who was just like, is the light of my life and just holds an extraordinarily special place in my heart and my mind. She was old at that time, and there was some signs that were alluding to the fact that she may not be around much longer. And so I was like, well, I want to get her name tattooed on my chest. And again, I was 18, and I didn't have the design sensibility that I have now, which is a little bit more refined, a little bit more mature. It's not to say I still don't make bad decisions like getting a pigeon tattooed on my chest, but at least in this regard, what I can say beyond a shadow of a doubt is my sensibility around fonts are a lot better. And so the font that I picked out for this Viola tattoo, yeah, not good, pal. Not good. And not only that, but the way that it was applied was done. I'm sorry, that sniffle was weird. It was done poorly. Let's just say that. And I remember being at the tattoo place, getting the tattoo, leaving and like pulling my shirt down and looking at it and being like, motherfucker, this is a bad tattoo. I went back to the hostel and was talking to this guy who I'd befriended, and I showed it to him. He's like, oh man, it's not that bad. Like, thank you. That's the kind and polite thing to say to somebody who just got a bad tattoo. And so that still lives there. And I, like with any bad, I don't know if this, maybe I haven't thought this thought out before saying it out loud, but I was like going to say, with any bad decision, enough time goes by and it's lost its badness. I think that can apply to things beyond tattoos. What am I thinking about? I'm thinking about people with like really regrettable tattoos, and I feel sorry for them. And me being one who's gone through that, and I don't know, what are we doing to ourselves? Why do we put things on our body thinking that we're gonna think that they're cool in a year, 2 years? Like, man, how the hubris to believe that we think we know what we want at a certain point in our life, to commit to it for the rest of our lives. Yeah, that one can be applied in a few forms, but yeah, a lot of tramp stamps. So where I'm at now is feeling really good about myself and my body. I enjoy seeing myself naked, which is something that wasn't always the case. I enjoy seeing progress with my body, and I'm not super dedicated to keeping it, in a form that I feel like I need to hold as a standard. But the improvements that I've made have been long-standing, and I've managed to keep them up. And again, just the simple lifestyle choices of not drinking alcohol, for one, is huge. Like I guarantee you, I will sell you my 30-day weight loss guarantee for 1999, I will tell you that if you quit drinking today, in 30 days, you will have lost some weight. I guarantee it. And, take that for what you will. Some people don't give a shit about losing weight, and I completely understand that. For me, the weight that I lost wasn't even weight that I realized I was carrying. So I'm like, oh shit. You can't see it now because I have a big giant beard, but I was like, oh, I got a fucking jawline. I got a pretty good jawline. That looks great. I have features that weren't evident before. And again, that may mean nothing to you. You may not give a shit about a jawline, but for me, who came from, an upbringing around having my body kind of used against me, or used as the butt of a joke, or used in a way that was ammunition to cut me down, and that was done. That was done for many, many years, and it stuck with me. Obviously, it was. It's a shame, man, to walk around with this fucking body that we're obliged to carry for the length of our stay here on this planet, and to not be in love with it, and to not be proud of it, and to not have it work in a way that benefits you. The idea of having a body that's not in a great state, and just how much that pervades into all facets of your reality. I mean, you're going to your mind and your body are going to interact differently when they're out of sync. And so to get mine to a place where I feel strong and good again, this is just an episode about me telling you how proud I am of myself. So deal with it. So yeah, I mean, as a kid, like I had an excess amount of weight on me, and it just like it, I mean, it made me so insecure to talk to the opposite sex, ladies, that it took me a really long time to ever get to a point where I felt like I wasn't seeing myself through the eyes of somebody looking at me. And to be able to, man, yeah, this is something. This is still something that is still residing within me, even after all the work and even after all the improvements and the changes. You just see how deeply pervasive these thought processes are and how much they stay with you. But this, to not love the way you look is becomes what your reality is. Ooh. Excuse me. So yeah, I mean, that was like a kind of a way of saying it took me a really long time to get laid. And I still hope to someday. Yeah, it was like women were just ladies, girls, were just not a thing in my life for a really long time. And then, in high school, I kind of took some control and took in, and when I say control, I mean that in a way that isn't healthy by any means, but I in my freshman year, or excuse me, my sophomore, I kind of like had enough and knew that, I kind of had the recognition that I was like, shit, this is a time where like, oh God, I'm feeling like hormonal now. I'm feeling feelings for feelings in a way that I never experienced. It kind of became very evident that like, oh yeah, there's changes that are happening. And so I decided to, get fit, not knowing what that looks like, not having anyone to guide me through that. It was rough. I joined the football team, and I'm such not a football person, and it was fucking evident right away. But I used it as a means of exercise, and I stuck to the program as it was laid out. A lot of running and fucking slamming into other people, and just the brutality of it is so like, ugh, no thank you. But was able to yeah, just stay within the program. And that in a combination of a light eating disorder by just completely depriving myself of food as much as possible, I lost a substantial amount of weight in a very, very short amount of time. And it was noticeable, not only for me, but I think for those around me. And there was this kid who was a few grades higher than me, who also, through whatever means he accomplished it in, lost a bunch of weight very quickly too. And he came up to me randomly, and I was working at the movie theater in the Lockport Mall, rest in peace. And he was like, "Hey man, did you get stretch marks?" And I was like, I did. And I at that point, I think I kind of like refused to acknowledge them in myself, or and be like, this is also like early days of internet. You just don't have like access to information in the way that you can just like easily be like, oh, this is a stretch mark. This is what it's caused by. It's no big deal, all that. And so I just was kind of like, oh fuck, he knows, like, oh God. And I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, me too. And I still have him to this day. And at this point, I mean, I'm so, I've lived with him for so long, and I'm also so proud of how my body looks that I don't even think twice about my stretch marks, but they were there. And that's like such a wild way to signify the changes in your body. And, obviously we live in a culture where everything is done to make those not exist in any sort of standard form of beauty, which is, disgusting and really, really unfortunate, because I think that they're more common than they're not. But that rapid change in my body, and then to just be like, oh my God, I just lost all this weight and I have stretch marks, and it was a lot. And at an age where you're just like, again, not getting information from the proper sources, and you're having to kind of just like hide stuff from people. Like, God, that age, man, that like fucking 16, it ain't easy for sure. And so I did that, and I lost the weight, and then I just like had a new body, and then I was like, I had some level of confidence come back, but then the mentality of it all was still there, and it didn't really change me in a way that I'd suddenly became this like playboy. I just was like, oh, I have a different body, but I'm still the dorky, shy guy who is way too afraid to talk to girls. So it wasn't until, I don't know, many, many, many years later that it all happened. That's a story for another time, I suppose. So yeah, that's all to say. I feel really good, and I don't try to ever give out advice, because I don't think that I'm qualified to. And I try to give, I try to be inspiring. No, I love telling my story. Like, this is my story. This is what I went through. This is what I experienced. And if you can shave off any of that and apply it to your life, that is beyond expectation. That is like, wow. But again, if maybe there's some improvements you want to make in your life, might I suggest giving up alcohol? I just think you're going to feel better. I promise you. I guarantee you, or your money back. That and exercise. It's so hard, and I didn't even get a chance to go over it in this episode, but that exercise is hard. It's that level of commitment isn't anything that I'm going to like just, minimize. It's so fucking hard to commit to this. But as you've heard annoyingly from anyone else, it's like once you get going and you get into it and your body is like, oh shit, we're going to do this regularly. Oh, well, fantastic. Thank you. I'll start rewarding you with dopamine and giving you these serotonin hits that are just like that are incomparable to anything else other than drugs, which I guess you could just take drugs. That's an option. No, don't do drugs. Okay, we're going to end the show as we always do. I'm going to give you a quote from off the top of my head. Life surrounds us. Life is us. Life becomes us from the beginning to the end. Life is us. We are life. We are life. I love you. That was fucking terrible.
That was the really fun wow show. All right, we're done.
Oh,
Yep. Okay, bye.